Why didn't Thanos from Avengers Infinity Wars just use the Infinity Stones to create more resources and planets for living space?
Because Thanos has the ultimate glass half empty mindset. He had no omnipotence and the ability to do absolutely anything. But instead of seeing the potential to create, he only saw the need to destroy.
To be fair, in Endgame he did realize that his plan failed, so he was going to eliminate all life in the universe and recreate it as creatures who aren't mourning what they lost. He basically didn't give a shit about anyone or their happiness.
Because the overpopulation thing is just something they added on to make him sympathetic. In the comics, he kills half of the universe because he has a crush on Death and wants to impress her.
Weird flex, but okay.
Isn't Death super infatuated with Deadpool? Then he uses the Infinity Gauntlet to make a cool girlfriend for himself in order to make Death jealous.
Movie Thanos sounds like a much more interesting villain.
Because using the stones to kill half of all life was never his original plan. He saw the effects of overpopulation on Titan and suggested a mass cult, then set out to kill half the population of planets manually. He wasn't actively searching for the stones until much later, and only as a means of speeding up his existing campaign. By the time he actually had them, he's too set on his idea to be reasoned with.
Because there was no space left on the disk.
Then why didn't he create more space on the disk?
Should have used a memory card then.
He could have also made everyone half as tall, which would mean more room and less resources used. And who wouldn't want to see 4-foot Hulk?
The adorable Hulk.
If you were 1/2 as tall, you would take up 1/8 the volume.
Except the fake brains operate on the subatomic level and you'd lose intelligence as they shrank. Even better, why didn't he use it to change reality such that intelligent life was far more reasonable with regards to resource consumption? Neither removing half the population nor doubling their resources solves the problem in the long term.
The trauma of his homeworld dying due to overpopulation after they didn't take his advice made him certain that semi-omnicide was the way to go.
Because then the movie wouldn't have happened.
The stones can only manifest matter through will, which takes constant concentration and energy from the wielder of the stones. They lose their concentration, then what they manifested vanishes. Thanos did not destroy or create anything when he snapped, he just redistributed their atoms, which does not need any energy or mental capability to maintain.
I'm not sure about that explanation considering what happens in Endgame.
But there should be plenty of atoms from uninhabitable sections of space which could be redistributed into usable matter. Makes sense to me, but I am neither a scientist nor an MCU Marvel buff.
He didn't really buy the universe much time, to be honest. Look at Earth. At our present population numbers, half of that was 50 years ago. While Thanos just put Earth back by 50 years for population. I can imagine that some species within the MCU have a faster birth growth cycle than humans, so they could be back up to pre-snap levels even faster. He'd have to get the stones, and get a new gauntlet every 50 years. This wasn't a set and forget deal. He gave himself basically a lifelong job of trying to keep the universe at half all the time.
Because the overpopulation problem would have gotten worse over a short amount of time. Already overpopulated civilizations would have continued to grow, and the need for resources would have grown as well.
I buy this. It's even demonstrated with the traffic versus lanes problem. Oh, there's big traffic. Add more lanes. Oh, there's more lanes. Suddenly there's more traffic. You got to reduce the traffic, not add more lanes. Sure, Thanos maybe could have said half of y'all going to a new alternate universe, kinda like adding bike lanes or something, but he didn't. He just ghosted people instead, but that's maybe a different movie.
Because he's lazy and wants instant results. Think about it, for almost all of the movies that involve the stones, he takes very little part in obtaining them. Even then, he backtracks, saying fine, I'll do it myself, in Age of Ultron, before not actually doing it himself, and making his lackeys do it. It isn't until Ebony Maw dies that he actually does something, and even then he does it somewhat half-heartedly, as if he wasn't showing his full potential. This extends to his goals as well. Sure, he could make more resources, but that's not really the issue. There will still be greed, and there will still be people wanting more than others. Infinite resources wouldn't work either. from certain ideologies, that would flat out destroy the economy of the universe, because there would simply be no value to anything anymore, because all resources are infinite. By snapping, it forces the population to split itself. It forces people to learn, and it forces them to see the error of their ways. Yes, in a few billion years, there will have to be another snap, but perhaps legends will be passed on to teach people that overpopulation is bad.
Given how populations grow, it could be as little as a few decades.
He got the power and reality stones himself, while his minions were tracking the rest down.
Down this path lies madness. Those stones are ridiculously, limitlessly powerful. He could have turned the entire Avengers army into bubbles. Or made them think he was a big safe to store the gauntlet in. Anything.
I may be wrong, but Thanos saw the overpopulation and lack of resources in the universe as a problem that could only be solved by halving the population rather than doubling resources, as the elite few who hoarded most of the resources would just continue to do so with the doubled resources. Therefore the former option, to cull, appealed to him more.
I think he thought that he was teaching people a lesson about conserving. He wanted people to be grateful rather than just adding more resources and basically just adding fuel to the fire. Or maybe the gauntlet can't double the resources.
There wouldn't be any drama or conflict in that, hence it didn't happen that way. Also, it would have made him a very boring character overall. Bad guys have to do bad things or else there's no reason for the good guys to even get out of bed, so to speak. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to Rems for more daily content like this in the future. And don't forget to hit that bell so you're notified every time I upload. See you guys next time.